Did you know that North Dakota was home to some of the oldest human settlements in North America, with evidence of life dating back thousands of years? Or that beneath its calm plains lies the Bakken Formation, one of the most important oil fields on the continent, and that this state experiences some of the most extreme winters on the planet with temperatures that can rival Arctic regions? North Dakota is not just cold or endless fields. It is a land forged by extremes, shaped by history, and powered by a quiet strength that defines the American plains. Get ready, because today you'll discover 50 incredible facts about North Dakota that will completely transform the way you understand the untamed spirit of America's Great Plains. 50. The true center of the continent. You might think the heart of North America would be somewhere fancy like Kansas or Nebraska, but the tiny town of Rugby actually claims the title of the geographical center of North America. This was officially designated in 1931 after a complex calculation involving the center of gravity of the entire continent. Standing there feels like being the pivot point for an entire landmass. It is a humble spot marked by a stone obelisk that stands 15 feet tall and looks like a miniature lighthouse in a sea of wheat. 49. The giant metal statues. Along a 32-mile stretch of highway in the southwestern part of the state, you will find the Enchanted Highway, which features some of the largest scrap metal sculptures in the world. While these are man-made, they are inextricably linked to the geography of the surrounding buttes and prairies, acting as massive landmarks for travelers. The most famous sculpture, Geese in Flight, was recognized by the Guinness World Records as the largest scrap metal sculpture on the planet. It stands 110 feet tall and spans 150 feet wide. 48. The highest point in the state. Rising above the flat plains of Slope County is White Butte, the highest natural point in North Dakota at an elevation of 3,506 feet. It is part of the Dakota Hogback Formation and consists of sedimentary rock that was deposited over 60 million years ago. While it might not be a mountain by Colorado standards, the view from the top is absolutely breathtaking, offering a panoramic look at the surrounding badlands and prairies that seem to go on forever. It is a popular spot for hikers who want to conquer a state high point. 47. A shoreline longer than California. It sounds impossible for a landlocked state, but Lake Sakakawea has more than 1,300 miles of shoreline, which is actually longer than the entire coastline of the state of California. This massive reservoir was created by the completion of the Garrison Dam on the Missouri River and stretches for nearly 180 miles across the landscape. It is the third largest man-made reservoir in the United States and offers an incredible amount of space for fishing, boating, and exploring hidden coves that most people never see. 46. The river that flows north. Most rivers in the United States flow south toward the Gulf of Mexico, but the Red River of the North is one of the few major rivers that flows almost directly north. It forms the border between North Dakota and Minnesota and eventually empties into Lake Winnipeg in Canada. This unique directional flow is a result of the ancient geography of the region, specifically the drainage of the prehistoric glacial lake Agassiz. Because it flows north, the southern parts of the river often melt before the northern parts, which can lead to spectacular spring flooding. Before continuing, be sure to subscribe and leave a like to keep discovering the strange and incredible geography of our entire country. 45. A park shared between two nations. Located right on the border between North Dakota and Manitoba is the International Peace Garden, a 2,000-acre park that straddles the boundary between the United States and Canada. This is a rare geographical occurrence where a park belongs to two different countries simultaneously. Visitors can walk back and forth across the border without having to go through a custom station while they are inside the garden grounds. It features a floral clock, beautiful fountains, and a memorial that contains girders from the World Trade Center towers. 44. The beautifully rugged North Dakota Badlands. When most people think of Badlands, they think of South Dakota, but the North Dakota Badlands in Theodore Roosevelt National Park are arguably even more scenic and colorful. These landforms were created over millions of years as the Little Missouri River carved through layers of silt, clay, and sand. The resulting landscape is a maze of jagged buttes, deep canyons, and vibrant rock layers that change color with the setting sun. It is a geologist's paradise and a testament to the power of water erosion in an arid environment. 43. The mighty Missouri River Corridor. The Missouri River is the longest river in the United States, and its path through North Dakota is one of its most significant geographical features. In this state, the river transitions from a free-flowing waterway into a series of massive reservoirs before returning to a more natural state in the south. It has historically served as a vital artery for transportation and trade, and it was the primary route used by the Lewis and Clark expedition during their journey to the Pacific Ocean. The river basin covers a vast portion of the state and influences its entire climate. 42. The Great Continental Divide Crossing. North Dakota is home to a portion of the Continental Divide that separates the water draining toward the Hudson Bay from the water draining toward the Gulf of Mexico. This is not the famous Great Divide of the Rocky Mountains, but rather a subtle rise in the landscape that dictates the path of every raindrop that falls. One side of this divide sends water to the Arctic Ocean, while the other sends it to the Atlantic Ocean. It is a fascinating reminder that even seemingly flat land has a complex and powerful underlying structure. 41st. The lowest point in the Peace Garden State. While we talked about the highest point, the lowest point in North Dakota is found at the Red River in Pembina, which sits at an elevation of only 750 feet above sea level. This is a dramatic contrast to the western part of the state and highlights the gradual slope of the land from west to east. Pembina is also one of the oldest settlements in the region, established because of its strategic location along the river. This low-lying area is exceptionally fertile and forms part of the rich agricultural heartland of the Red River Valley. 40. The ancient villages of the Knife River. The Knife River Indian Villages National Historic Site preserves the remains of 3 Hidatsa villages that were major centers of trade and agriculture for centuries. Geographically, these villages were perfectly situated on the terraces above the Missouri River to avoid flooding while maintaining access to water and fertile soil. The circular depressions from the old earth lodges are still visible today, creating a unique historical landscape that allows you to see how ancient peoples adapted to the geography of the northern plains. This is a must-see for anyone interested in human geography. 39. The largest tallgrass prairie remaining. The Cheyenne National Grassland is home to the largest remaining tract of tallgrass prairie in the United States, covering over 70,000 acres of public land. This area is a geographical time capsule that shows what the eastern part of the state looked like before it was converted to farmland. The landscape is characterized by rolling sand dunes, wetlands, and a vast sea of grass that supports a diverse range of wildlife, including the rare greater prairie chicken. It is a beautiful and serene place where the sky feels larger than life. 38. The Mysterious Cave of the Buffalo. In the Killdeer Mountains, you will find a geographical feature known as Medicine Hole, which is a deep crack or cave in the earth that has significant cultural importance. Legend says that this is the place where the buffalo first emerged from the earth. Geologically, it is a narrow plateau developed on volcanic rich carbonates and sandstones that rises hundreds of feet above the surrounding plains. It is one of the few notable caves in a state that is mostly known for its open spaces, and exploring it offers a unique subterranean perspective on North Dakota geography. 37. The most rugged state park landscape. Little Missouri State Park is often called the most rugged state park in North Dakota because it contains some of the most dramatic and inaccessible Badlands terrain in the region. Most of the park can only be explored on foot or by horse because the terrain is too steep and jagged for traditional roads. This geographical isolation has preserved a pristine environment where the erosion of the Little Missouri River continues to shape the land in real time. It is a place of harsh beauty and incredible geological diversity that feels truly wild. 36. Double Ditch Indian Village. This site is a geographical wonder because of its complex earthworks and strategic placement on the high terraces of the Missouri River. Between the years 1490 and 1785, this was a massive Mandan settlement. The geography here features 2 deep defensive trenches that once protected the inhabitants from invaders. It is a striking example of how ancient people used the natural elevation of the riverbanks to create secure and prosperous communities in a vast landscape. 35. The Saline Mystery of Devil's Lake. This is a geographical anomaly known as an endorheic basin, meaning it has no natural river outlet to the sea. Because of this, the lake level fluctuates wildly based on precipitation and evaporation. In some decades, it is a small pond, and in others, it swallows entire roads and buildings as it expands across the flat basin. It is like a giant sink in the middle of the prairie that never quite drains. The water is naturally salty because minerals accumulate there with nowhere to go. 34. The Turtle Mountains Plateau. These are not actually mountains in the traditional sense. Geographically, they are a beautiful upland plateau that rises about 600 to 800 feet above the surrounding plains. This area is a lush island of green in a sea of prairie, covered in thick forests and hundreds of small sparkling lakes. It was formed by glacial deposits that left a higher elevation compared to the flatlands below. Because it is higher up, it receives more rain and snow, making the climate and vegetation feel more like Minnesota than the rest of the dry state. 33. The Pembina Escarpment. This dramatic rise in the land is actually the ancient shoreline of Glacial Lake Agassiz, which once covered a massive portion of the continent. As you drive west from the Red River Valley, the land suddenly jumps up several hundred feet. This geographical feature creates a rugged terrain of deep valleys and winding streams that is quite different from the flat lake bed below. It is a literal step up in the world, marking the edge of where a giant prehistoric lake once lapped against the shore for thousands of years. 32. The Missouri Coteau Sloughs. The Missouri Coteau is a vast upland region characterized by thousands of small wetlands known as sloughs or potholes. This geography was created by the retreat of the last glaciers, which left behind chunks of ice that melted into these depressions. It is often called the duck factory of North America because these tiny ponds provide perfect nesting habitats for millions of migratory birds. Walking through this area feels like navigating a giant piece of Swiss cheese where every hole is filled with water. It is one of the most important ecological regions in the world. 31st, the Glacial Lake Agassiz Bed. The Red River Valley is arguably one of the flattest places on the entire planet. This extreme flatness is not just a coincidence. It is because the entire valley is the former bed of the massive Glacial Lake Agassiz. As the lake drained away thousands of years ago, it left behind a layer of incredibly fine silt and clay that leveled out the landscape perfectly. If you stood in the middle of a field here, you would swear the earth was a dinner plate. This geographical perfection makes it some of the most productive farmland anywhere. 30. The Petrified Forest. Located within the Theodore Roosevelt National Park, this geographical treasure contains the fossilized remains of ancient redwood and sequoia trees that lived 60 million years ago. Back then, this region was a swampy subtropical forest rather than a dry prairie. Over time, minerals replaced the wood, turning the stumps into solid stone. Today, you can see these giant white stone logs protruding from the eroded hillsides. It is a striking reminder that the geography of a place can change completely if you give it enough millions of years to evolve. Learn more at the National Park Service website. 29. The Great Plains Grasslands Mosaic. The Dakota Prairie Grasslands represent a unique geographical transition zone. This is where the tall grass prairies of the humid east meet the short grass prairies of the arid west. This creates a mixed grass prairie ecosystem that is incredibly resilient and diverse. The rolling hills are shaped by the wind and the grazing of bison, which have lived here for millennia. This vast open space acts like a giant carbon sink and a protective blanket for the soil. It is a landscape defined by its subtle beauty and the strength of the native grass. 28. Lake Oahu's Massive Span. This is a massive reservoir formed by a dam on the Missouri River that stretches for 231 miles. While it starts in South Dakota, a significant and beautiful portion of it lies within North Dakota. This geographical feature is so large that it has its own weather patterns and can produce significant waves during storms. It provides a massive amount of surface area for recreation and serves as a vital water source for the region. The lake drowned many historic sites, completely altering the geography of the river valley. 27. The Weather Extreme Pivot Point. Because the state is located in the dead center of the continent, far from the stabilizing influence of any ocean, it experiences some of the wildest weather swings on Earth. It is not uncommon for the temperature to drop to 40 degrees below zero in the winter and soar to over 100 degrees in the summer. This geographical isolation creates a continental climate where the air is dry and the wind is constant. It is a land of environmental intensity that tests the mettle of everything that lives there. 26. The Burning Coal Veins. In the North Dakota Badlands, there are underground veins of lignite coal that have been burning naturally for decades. This geographical phenomenon occurs when lightning or a prairie fire ignites an exposed coal seam. The fire then creeps slowly underground, baking the surrounding clay into a hard red rock called scoria. You can sometimes see smoke rising from cracks in the earth or smell the sulfur in the air. This natural process has been shaping the colors and textures of the Badlands landscape for thousands of years. 25. The Heart River Geography. This tributary of the Missouri River flows through the scenic southwestern part of the state and is a perfect example of a meandering stream. It has carved a deep, winding valley into the soft sedimentary rocks of the region. The geography of the Heart River Basin is characterized by rolling hills and steep bluffs that provide a diverse habitat for wildlife. It gets its name from its heart-shaped path in certain sections, which is a lovely geographical quirk. The river has played a major role in the irrigation and development of the region. 24. The Killdeer Mountains topography. These are actually two large flat-topped mesas that rise nearly 700 feet above the surrounding plains. These geographical features are capped with a hard layer of sandstone that has resisted erosion better than the softer rocks around them. This high ground served as a natural fortress for Native American tribes and was the site of a major battle in the 19th century. From the top of these buttes, you can see for dozens of miles in every direction, making them some of the most important landmarks in the West. 23. The Cannonball River concretions. This river is famous for its unique geographical features called concretions, which are large, perfectly round stone spheres that look like giant cannonballs. These formed millions of years ago when minerals precipitated around a central core within the layers of sediment. As the river erodes the surrounding banks, these stone balls are revealed and roll down into the water. Seeing these massive, mysterious spheres scattered along the riverbank is a surreal experience that highlights the incredible geological artistry found in the quiet corners of this state. 22. The Denbigh Experimental Forest. This is a unique geographical feature because it is essentially a man-made forest in the middle of a naturally treeless prairie. Established in 1931, it was an experiment to see which tree species could survive the harsh Dakota climate. Today, it stands as a dense, rectangular block of green that can be seen for miles from the air. Geographically, it serves as a massive windbreak and provides a unique habitat for wildlife that wouldn't normally thrive in this open region. It is a fascinating example of how humans can intentionally alter the local geography. 21st, the James River. This river is often cited by locals as the world's longest unnavigable river, though that title is more of a local geographical legend than a scientific fact. Stretching for 710 miles through North and South Dakota, it is an incredibly slow-moving stream with a very low gradient. Geographically, it meanders lazily through the flat plains, often barely appearing to flow at all. Its basin is a vital agricultural region, but the river itself is too shallow and narrow for commercial shipping. It remains a peaceful ribbon of water crossing the heart of the state. 20. The Garrison Dam. Completed in 1953, this is one of the largest earthen dams in the world. Geographically, it completely transformed the Missouri River Valley by creating the massive Lake Sakakawea. The dam is over 2 miles long and required 66 million cubic yards of earth to construct. It serves multiple geographical functions, including flood control, hydroelectric power generation, and irrigation. The sheer scale of the dam is a testament to the engineering efforts used to tame the wild Missouri River, forever changing the topography of central North Dakota. 19. Lake Sakakawea's massive shoreline. One of the most surprising geographical facts about North Dakota is that Lake Sakakawea has more shoreline than the entire Pacific coast of California. With over 1,300 miles of jagged bays and inlets, the lake is a sprawling water giant in the middle of the prairie. This massive surface area is due to the way the water flooded the deeply eroded valleys of the Missouri River and its tributaries. It provides a unique aquatic geography in an otherwise dry region, offering endless opportunities for boating and fishing along its rugged, sun-drenched banks. 18. The northward flow of the Red River. Most rivers in the United States flow south toward the Gulf of Mexico, but the Red River of the North is a geographical rebel. It flows due north across the border into Canada and eventually empties into Lake Winnipeg. This northward path is a result of the regional topography left behind by the retreating glaciers. Because the river flows toward a colder climate, the ice in the north often remains frozen, while the southern part thaws, leading to frequent and dramatic spring floods that cover the flat valley. 17. The Surrey's River Loop. Also known as the Mouse River, this waterway has a truly bizarre geographical path. It starts in Saskatchewan, Canada, flows south across the international border into North Dakota, makes a giant loop through the state, and then flows back north into Manitoba, Canada. This double border crossing is a rare geographical occurrence that makes the river a point of international management. The loop carries the water through the heart of the drift prairie, providing essential moisture for the region before it returns to the northern wilderness. 16. The Williston Basin. Deep beneath the surface of western North Dakota lies the Williston Basin, a massive geographical depression that spans 3 states and 2 Canadian provinces. This basin is a layered cake of ancient sedimentary rocks that contain some of the largest oil and gas deposits in North America. Geographically, this feature is the reason for the state's energy boom, as technology now allows for the extraction of resources from the famous Bakken Formation. It is a hidden landscape of prehistoric oceans and ancient life that has shaped the modern economy and geography of the region. 15. The Drift Prairie. This geographical region covers the eastern and central parts of the state and is characterized by its rolling hills and fertile soil. The drift refers to the layer of rocks, sand, and clay left behind by moving glaciers thousands of years ago. Unlike the perfectly flat Red River Valley, the Drift Prairie has a more varied topography with thousands of small depressions that form wetlands. It acts as a transitional zone between the lowlands of the east and the higher plateaus of the west. It is the heart of the state's agricultural belt. 14. The Pembina Gorge. This is one of the most stunning and deepest valleys in North Dakota, located in the northeastern corner of the state. The Pembina River has carved a deep canyon through the Pembina Escarpment, creating a rugged landscape that looks more like the mountains of the east than the plains of the west. Geographically, it features steep cliffs, thick forests, and a diverse array of wildlife. It is a rare example of a deeply incised river valley in a state known for its flatness. This gorge is a hidden geographical gem for hikers and nature lovers. 13. Black Butte. While often overshadowed by its neighbor White Butte, Black Butte is a significant geographical landmark in Slope County. It is a flat-top mesa that rises hundreds of feet above the surrounding prairie, offering a commanding view of the western landscape. Geographically, it is part of the eroded remains of the High Plains, standing as a sentinel against the forces of wind and water. Its dark appearance comes from the shadows of its steep sides and the hardy vegetation that clings to its slopes. It serves as an important navigational point in the vast open west. 12. White Butte. Standing at 3,506 feet above sea level, White Butte is the highest point in North Dakota. Located in the southwestern part of the state, it is a striking white-colored formation made of bentonite clay and volcanic ash. Geographically, it is a remnant of a much higher land surface that has mostly eroded away over millions of years. Reaching the summit requires a hike through private land, but the panoramic view from the top showcases the true scale and beauty of the North Dakota Badlands. It is a geographical pinnacle of the state. 11. Cross Ranch State Park. This park preserves one of the last free-flowing, unchanneled stretches of the Missouri River. Geographically, it looks much like the river did when Lewis and Clark explored it over 200 years ago. Without dams or levees in this specific section, the river is free to shift its banks, create new sandbars, and maintain a diverse ecosystem of cottonwood forests and grasslands. It is a rare window into the natural geographical history of the Great Plains before modern engineering changed the river forever. It is an essential site for understanding river dynamics. Remember to subscribe and like to keep learning amazing information about each state in our beautiful country. 10. The Clinker Beds. In the North Dakota Badlands, you will often see bright red rock capping the tops of hills and ridges. This rock is called clinker, though locals often incorrectly call it scoria. Geographically, it is formed when underground coal seams catch fire and bake the surrounding clay into a natural brick. Because clinker is much harder than the unbaked clay around it, it resists erosion, leading to the formation of the distinctive buttes and towers that define the region. It is a perfect example of geological alchemy occurring right beneath the feet of travelers. 9. The Cheyenne River Sand Dunes. Located in the Cheyenne National Grassland, these massive sand dunes are a surprising geographical feature in the middle of the prairie. They were formed thousands of years ago by the delta of the Cheyenne River as it flowed into glacial Lake Agassiz. As the lake drained, the sand was left behind and shaped by the wind into rolling dunes. Today, most of the dunes are covered in native tallgrass prairie, but they still retain their unique sandy soil and undulating topography. They are a relic of a prehistoric aquatic world. 8. The Knife River Flint Quarries. This site is geographically significant because it contains the source of a unique high-quality stone called Knife River Flint. For over 11,000 years, Native Americans traveled from all over the continent to quarry this dark, translucent stone for making tools and weapons. The geography of the site is marked by thousands of shallow pits where the flint was dug from the earth. These quarries are some of the oldest and most extensive industrial sites in North America, showing how the local geology influenced ancient trade and culture. 7. Lone Tree Wildlife Management Areas. This region is a vital geographical link because it sits on the continental divide between the Hudson Bay and Gulf of Mexico watersheds. It was originally intended to be a massive reservoir, but the project was never finished, leaving behind a vast area of restored prairie and wetlands. Geographically, it is a high-elevation plateau that acts as a giant sponge, absorbing rainwater and feeding it into different river systems. It is now a haven for hunters and bird watchers, representing a successful return of the land to its natural state. 6. Theodore Roosevelt's Elkhorn Ranch. This remote site along the Little Missouri River was once home to the future president and remains one of the most secluded geographical locations in the state. Accessible only by long dirt roads or by crossing the river, the geography here is rugged and wild, exactly as Roosevelt loved it. It is nestled in a quiet valley surrounded by steep badlands and thick cottonwood groves. The site is preserved as a wilderness of the mind, where the geography speaks to the solitude and strength of the Western spirit. It is a powerful historical geographical landmark. 5. The Medicine Pole Hills. Located in the southwestern corner of the state, these hills are a unique geographical formation of steep-sided buttes and ridges. They are named for the tradition of local tribes placing prayer poles on the high points. Geographically, the hills are composed of ancient sandstone and clay that have been intricately carved by wind and rain into complex shapes. They rise abruptly from the flat plains, serving as important spiritual and navigational landmarks for centuries. The area offers a starkly beautiful landscape that highlights the geological diversity of the High Plains region. 4. Missouri River Sandbars. The geography of the Missouri River is constantly being reshaped by the formation and movement of massive sandbars. These temporary islands of sand are created by the deposition of sediment as the water flows around bends. Geographically, they are essential habitat for endangered birds like the piping plover and least tern, which nest on the bare sand. Despite the dams upstream, the river still moves enough sediment to create these dynamic features. They are a shifting, fluid part of the state's geography that changes with every season. 3. The International Peace Garden. This unique geographical site straddles the border between North Dakota and Manitoba, Canada. It is the only place in the world where a formal garden is split exactly down the middle by an international boundary line. Geographically, it is situated in the lush Turtle Mountains, providing a beautiful forested setting for this symbol of peace. Visitors can walk freely between the two countries within the garden's boundaries. It represents a rare geographical zone of cooperation and shared beauty between two nations. It is a must-see landmark. Second lowest forest cover in the United States. North Dakota holds the geographical distinction of having the lowest percentage of natural forest cover of any state in the nation. Less than 2% of the land is covered in trees, and most of those are concentrated along river valleys or in the Turtle Mountains. Geographically, this is because the climate is too dry and the wind is too strong for most large forests to grow naturally. This lack of trees creates the wide open, big sky vistas that the state is famous for, where you can see the weather coming from 50 miles away. 1. The geographic center of North America. This is perhaps the most famous geographical fact about North Dakota. For decades, the town of Rugby has been recognized as the exact geographical center of the North American continent. A tall stone monument marks the spot where the north, south, and east-west axes of the continent supposedly intersect. While modern GPS calculations sometimes suggest the center might be a few miles away in a nearby field, Rugby remains the cultural and symbolic heart of the continent. It is a fitting final fact for a state that truly sits at the crossroads of a vast landmass. After learning these 50 facts about North Dakota, tell us, which one did you like the most, or which one surprised you the most? Leave it in the comments. Let's see how many of us picked the same fact. And if you think we missed something or want to add your own fun fact, we'd love to hear from you. Your comments help us make every video even better. Also, if you noticed any pronunciation slips here and there, thank you for your patience. We're working hard to get better with every video. And speaking of videos, there's another one on screen right now, so you can keep exploring the geography of our beautiful country. But before you go, don't forget to subscribe and give it a like so we can keep learning together. See you in the next one.